Well, I think reading into what political leaders do is any regulations that are brought right now will be vetted in the lens of an approaching election.
Yeah.
And whether it's meant for good, I think there is some degree that we politicize some of these legal provisions. Let me say this, that there is a report by the Westminster, for democracy on the cost of election. And when that report was published, reading through the report, you realize how our, elected members of parliament, aspirants, different political aspirants, cross-board, from the president to the member of county assembly, embark on massive spending. And the question was that, one, where do these parliamentarians, the aspirants, get this whole money from? What are the sources? Are there, and if there are sources that are questionable? So I think, one, it is important to bring these regulations on board because, one, in good faith, I am convinced that such regulations will help us to, curb the massive spending and therefore lock out, potential aspirants, especially youth and women, who would want to fairly and squarely compete in the political terrain. But because of the financial war chest, they are edged out of, a clear political competition. And therefore, I agree that right now is important for us as a nation to have a conversation if we really want to vet the kind of leaders that we put into, in positions. Victor, I also see the merits of this kind of regulations. Like I've said, one of it is to introduce a terrain of free, fair, and transparent political campaigns. But also, there is another advantage of this kind of regulations, to the effect that, all political aspirants, after the election, you realize that all the people who are elected into the office, they will embark on money recovery strategies, at the expense of service delivery. And you realize that the reason as to why we don't get services to the people that we elect is simply because us as voters, we gave them a budget that they must finance from the sources that we are not aware about. And therefore, it follows that once they assume the position of leadership, they will not deliver services maybe for 1 or 2 years. One, because they are recovering the monies that they got. So even as these regulations come in, and one of the things that I advocate for, Victor, that even as we have it being at the select committee, at the parliament, these kind of issues right now should be devolved for public participation. And therefore, there is a word for meaningful public participation. Because when it's brought back to the citizens interrogate themselves and ask themselves very honest questions. Are we burdening the leaders that we elect into the offices? Are we pushing them to the level where they get many funds from the sources that we get? And what is the implications of that in terms of service delivery and accountability?